Russia's Vladimir Putin sought to shake the very foundations of the free world, thinking he could make it bend to his menacing ways. But he badly miscalculated. He thought he could roll into Ukraine and the world would roll over. Instead, he met with a wall of strength he never anticipated or imagined. He met the Ukrainian people. While he may make gains on the battlefield, he'll pay a continuing high price over the long run.
President Biden vowing Vladimir Putin will pay a price for his invasion of Ukraine, but Russia's brutality showing no signs of slowing down. Putin raining bombs down on the country's second-largest city of Kyiv, striking a police headquarters and targeting residential areas. Ukraine says more than 2,000 civilians have been killed so far in the war. The capital of Kyiv also being targeted, with buildings there being reduced to rubble. The Pentagon says Russian forces are trying to advance across the country, but are being met with fierce Ukrainian resistance. Trey Yingst is in Kyiv with the latest. Trey?
Good afternoon. Tension remains high in Kyiv. People here understand that the war is now at their doorstep. Sometimes the difference between life and death in the Ukrainian capital is up to timing and chance. Vanya was born this morning at 10 a.m. as air raid sirens sounded across Kyiv. Now he rests next to his mother in the basement of a maternity hospital. For families who are staying in the Ukrainian capital, the days ahead are expected to be bloody and violent. They're bracing for the worst.
A world who can help us, save us.
As new lives are brought into this world, the war is taking others out. Across town, 5 people were killed overnight in Russian missile strikes, bringing the total since the invasion began to more than 2,000, according to state emergency services. Overnight, a Russian missile slammed into this building next to a television tower in the capital of Kyiv. The air campaign against this city is getting heavier as ground forces get closer. With the threat from Russia present inside the city limits, the Ukrainian territorial defense remains on alert. While the bulk of Russian forces are staged outside of the city, every car that passes must be considered suspect.
They're coming from different sides. A lot of people came here before the war started. They rented places to live and were getting prepared.
In recent days, Kyiv has seen some street battles. It's significant as troops here do anything they can to block the offensive that's taking place. They're moving pianos, sand, and concrete barriers into the road. They want to slow down those Russian forces. Back to you.
Trey, stay with us. We've got some questions for you, and I'll start with the first. You know, as you talk about the street battles and people even pulling out a piano to stop the Russians, are the Ukrainians disappointed? Did they expect more from the rest of the world that is literally just watching this?
They're expecting more from the world right now. They've made very clear, officials here in the capital of Kyiv, that they need 2 things. They need more sanctions on President Putin of Russia to try and alter his behavior, and they need weapons in the form of anti-tank missiles. They want anti-aircraft batteries and everything that can be given to them in the coming days. We know, according to reports, some Stinger missiles arrived here in the Ukrainian capital today. This will give them the ability to shoot down helicopters and small aircraft. But moving forward, the things they will need most has to do with air power. They want to control the air above them. We know today a cruise missile was intercepted over this city, fighter jets being shot down, and these air battles taking place. So it's not just the ground they have to worry about, but also the air.
All right. I'll go to you, Greg.
All right. First, Trey, you are a badass, and you're doing amazing work, and thank you for that. We keep hearing stuff about gains on the battlefield and reports that Putin is under pressure and things are going badly for Russia and things are going great for or better for Ukraine. How can we tell? I mean, you were there and you're showing some amazing pictures, so we know what we're seeing is happening. What do we know about these other stories? How can we tell whether they are true or not, whether they are persuasion as opposed to actual facts? What do you think?
Look, I think the focus right now is really on 2 cities, despite the fact that we've seen fighting erupt across this country. Kharkiv, the second largest city, there is significant evidence that the Russians are targeting civilian areas, and they continue their offensive both by air and ground. The other thing to focus on is the capital of Kyiv and this convoy that, according to satellite images, is nearly 40 miles long. Artillery units, tanks, Russian soldiers, and it has been stalled for the past 48 hours. And officials here believe that has to do with logistics. So this will be really the focus in the coming days, whether or not these troops continue their advance toward the Ukrainian capital. And if they do, the real understanding here is they will try to encircle the city. So I think that's going to be the thing that people focus on in the coming days. Is this convoy moving? And if they're not moving, why is that? And it could be for two major reasons. They're regrouping and preparing to launch that assault on the city, or they could be having logistics problems in the forms of food, fuel, and supplies.
Dana?
Trey, one of the things President Biden continues to say at almost every opportunity, it's almost more for a domestic audience, I think, is that American soldiers will not have boots on the ground in Ukraine. But to be clear, the Ukrainians have never asked for that. They asked for what you said beforehand. That's a little bit of a straw man that he's putting up there. We understand that American boots on the ground will not be in Ukraine.
Yeah, right now, the White House is being very clear that there will be no American troops fighting in Ukraine. The Ukrainians, though, are really looking for weapons right now. They aren't begging the world to send troops here. They are asking for and pleading for anti-aircraft batteries, these anti-tank missiles and other weapons that they can use.